Welcome to the 15th episode of Phenomenal Woman Wednesday.
I am your host, Dr. Saran Nataki. Thank you for joining. Welcome to Power 365 Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays. This podcast will address issues ranging from what is a phenomenal woman? Are you enough? Community service, paying it forward, the manifestation of dreams with words and action, the power in being a woman, the men who support phenomenal women, fashion, and much more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Phenomenal Woman Wednesday. And today I have the pleasure of sharing with you Ms. Tamaya Petteway. She is amazing in her own right. She is the Senior Vice President of Brand Integrations and Partnerships for Endemol Shine North America. So, I mean, wow, like that title is so long, so that must be, that's like a big deal. So, Tamaya, welcome to Phenomenal Woman Wednesday. I'm so glad that I'm able to have you here to share this space with you and all that you offer. So, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So, Tamaya, before we get into the interview, I'd like for you to tell my listeners a little bit about who you are and with respect to your career and what you do.
Sure. Well, I am Tamaya Petteway. As you just shared, I am Senior Vice President of Brand Integrations and Partnerships at Endemol Shine North America. Endemol Shine is one of the world's, actually, it is the world's largest independent production company. We are the producers of tons of hit series, including Big Brother and MasterChef Junior, Biggest Loser, The Real Housewives of Atlanta, The Real Housewives of Potomac, T.I. and Tiny Family Hustle, Peaky Blinders, Black Mirror, just to name a couple. But what I specifically do, I am responsible for driving new business and generating revenue with commercial partners and brands. So I work with many big brands to create strategic partnerships across our slate of scripted and non-scripted television shows. As part of that, I collaborate with our show producers and network executives to produce the on-air creative. I build off-air extensions that drive our loyal and passionate audiences to engage with these brands and products. And then overall, just really work to make sure that we are connecting our IP, our television shows, to our audiences in unique, creative, and exciting ways. So that's what I do.
Wow. So one word, phenomenal. Like, that's amazing. That sounds like, such an exciting career, something that would really just keep you moving and growing and just, because television is changing all of the time. And so I'm sure those relationships, just staying on top of the relationships and branching out to build new partnerships, that keeps your skills like really fresh, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to be a creative person at my core. And then, of course, with what I do, creativity is the crux of our company when it comes to the type of TV shows that we're developing and producing. And then when you think about, commercial brands, their goal is always to make sure that their campaign can resonate with their target audiences. And of course, viewers, they're tuned in to television programs, whether it be on linear television or OTT platforms or streaming channels. So, I have the awesome task and responsibility of figuring out how I can create different, unique, innovative ways to connect the dots and create these partnerships and integrations with our shows that really deliver on the brand's goals and objectives, but then also create that integration within our shows in a way where viewers, tune in. They don't tune out and feel like they're being marketed to, as they're watching or, enjoying some of their favorite television shows and programs. So that's the part when it comes to the on-air piece. But what I also love are the extensions that I get to build. So if I use American Idol as an example, that's the show I worked on for many years in the beginning of my career. And if you think about Coke and Ford and AT&T, it was integrating the brand in the show, but then also trying to drive traffic out of the show to retail. So when you go to your favorite grocery store and you see that Coke display and they're asking you to buy a six-pack and enter to win tickets to see the American Idol finale. Those are the types of opportunities and programs that my team and I get to develop. And it starts with us. So I think that's the beauty with what I do, seeing something come to life that actually just started, with an idea. And it keeps it fresh. It keeps it fun and challenging for me. So I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to Tamaya's creativity. Just over the many years that I've known you, you absolutely have a creative spirit. And not just with your professionalism comes forth in everything that you do. Everything you do is great. So I really appreciate and admire that about you.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So there are several questions that are standard questions, and thank you for sharing all of that and giving us the scope of your job and your career, and also the company that you work for and what they do. So there are several questions that I ask every person that is interviewed on Phenomenal Woman Wednesday, and I'll start with those. So, from your perspective, what does it mean to be a phenomenal woman?
What does it mean to be a phenomenal woman? I think a phenomenal woman isn't always what you do. I think a big piece of that is who you are. The example you set, how you lead, what you stand for. I feel in this day and age, it's so important to be authentic, your authentic self, because that's all you have at the end of the day, who you are and who God has blessed you to be. And by you being that, unapologetically and authentically, it's inspiring and encouraging others. We live in a time where young people are watching, and it's so important for, people who are your peers, are your friends, are in your peer group, if you will, colleagues, fellow coworkers, to be able to learn. And learning isn't always by you preaching and telling people, oh, do it this way or do it that way. It's actually by you walking it out and allowing your light, your example to be a reflection to other people. So I like to say it's not, what you do and what title you have or any of that makes you phenomenal. We are all phenomenal in our own way, in our own right, and provided that you're allowing that to speak for you and to be the thing that represents you, then that is what makes, us all phenomenal women.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's an awesome response. And, just to tag onto what you said, here at Phenomenal Woman Wednesday, our whole motto is living your truth, being your authentic self. So I'm really happy to hear you mention that, especially with the social media presence, which we'll get into in a little bit. But thank you. Who would you say would have been the phenomenal woman in your life?
Well, I am blessed to have a lot of great examples in my immediate family, starting from my grandmother, who just were very strong, powerful women. We were very close, with our grandparents growing up. And, my mother Gran and my mama San, they even had, unique names because they really wanted not to, just be traditional, but really, live out that role for my sisters and I. But just how they lived and what they shared with us and what they worked very hard to instill in us by way of morals and values and ethics. My mother is a phenomenal woman. She's one of the most selfless people I know. She is a giver. In my mind, in my eyes, she is salt of the earth. Her whole motto is to help others to be well and to encourage them. She's a psychologist, but just being raised by such a dynamic woman who, really worked hard to make sure my sisters and I, could thrive and achieve our dreams and goals the way that she has. My older sister is a phenomenal woman. She is an excellent mother, wife, business owner. She recently has had a stroke at the age, of 45, and just seeing her rebound and fight to make sure that, she is there for her family, has really just encouraged and inspired me. And then my younger sister, she's younger than me, but I learned so much from her. She is so driven. She speaks her mind. She's confident. She stands in what she believes in. And she just also encourages and inspires me. So I'm thankful to have, a lot of great women around me that again, are phenomenal in their own way. But like I said, what makes them phenomenal and what makes them phenomenal to me is how they lead by example, and how they allow who they are authentically to speak for themselves.
Awesome. I love those terms of endearment that you have for your grandmother. Mothers, yeah. What is it? Mama Gran and Graham and Mama San.
Mother Gran, which is grandmother backwards, and then Mama San. My Mama San traveled
Mama
the world,
okay.
and Asian culture was near and dear to her heart, so she adopted that word, Mama San.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. As you reflect on yourself and your own personal development, your life, how have you adopted any of the characteristics that you spoke about those phenomenal women in your life into your own person?
That's a great question. That's the thing, to always be cognizant and conscious of trying to let those things, come to the forefront. I think sometimes we get so focused and head down in, what we're supposed to do in our day-to-day. But in my specific role, I think, I'm a leader. Mm-hmm. And my dad has actually taught me that, the sign of a great leader is one who knows how to serve. Mm-hmm. And in serving my team, serving my department, it's those characteristics that actually are the things that I want to speak for me, and allowing those characteristics to, demonstrate who Tamaya is and what Tamaya stands for. So it is being someone who encourages. It is being someone who inspires. It's being someone who is selfless, someone who knows how to give, someone who is thoughtful, someone who is caring. I'm sure in all of our careers we've had a lot of great bosses. We've also had some bad ones as well. Mm-hmm. So, when I started my career trajectory, my father has always been, my biggest cheerleader and a huge champion. He was a leader in an organization before he retired. So in terms of leadership and allowing certain characteristics to come to the forefront, I've taken a lot of advice and direction from him. Mm-hmm. So again, going back to him saying, a sign of a great leader is one who serves. I want to serve with those characteristics that really speak to, what I stand for and what I represent, at my core, phenomenally. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's how I see it.
That's awesome. I mean, just to have that perspective of being of service and how that feeds your ability to lead in an effective way. And like you mentioned, we've all had those bosses who have been amazing, and then some who were not quite so.
Right.
I can absolutely relate to that. I had one who she's still in my life. She's always been an amazing woman. Her name is Mary, and she's hands down just a wonderful person from the inside out. And she led with that same spirit that you're speaking about. And then I know of another one that I won't call out, but And that one is on the other end of the spectrum. But even those people teach us, how we don't, how not to be, right? So we kind of learn from experience. So it's not all for naught. We always are evolving and learning.
And not conforming to what, others think is the role or how you are to be as a leader or boss, but really making that role your own based upon, what's most important to you. What are those characteristics? What are those qualities that not only define you as a person, but define, the legacy you want to lead, you want to leave. Everyone's not a leader. Everyone's not a boss. Everyone's not a manager. Although a lot of people would like to believe that they are. But at the end of the day, these are people's careers, that you have in your hand, their development, their growth, their professional trajectory. So it's important that you're able to breathe into that. You're able to take that seriously. But then also you're able to shape and coach based upon, what has helped you to become the professional leader you are, but then also those things that have, not been so useful or helpful. So, it's a mixed bag, and you take the best of both.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's a perfect segue into the next question, because when you're talking about standing firm on what you believe and bringing forth who you are in what you do. And so when you think about your profession and what you do, being in the entertainment industry, how do you maintain a balance with respect to your self-image? In other words, how do you manage like all of the external sources of validation that are out there in relationship to how you view your self-worth?
Yeah, I love that question. Because it actually played a huge part in my development in my early years being in this business. I stepped into this business right out of college. In fact, I stepped into it while I was in college, having an internship at Sony Pictures. And entertainment, it can be, salacious. It can be quite an interesting industry. And at that point, I saw a lot that, sparked some concerns. And I was in situations that were a little concerning, but also challenging for me. I, want to say and go on record and say I am a woman of faith. And the person I am has been shaped by what I believe and who I believe in. I believe in God. So a lot of, I'm going to say, what I choose to represent really comes from my Christian upbringing. So being young and vibrant and excited about being in entertainment, but being exposed to some things that were a conflict to what I stand for, I called my dad one time and I said, Dad, I don't know if this is for me. I'm, being in this and I'm being expected to do that and expected to go here and do that. And it's just, I don't know what to do. And I'll never forget it. I think I might have been 21, 22, and my dad said, no, you're exactly where you're supposed to be because God needs his people in entertainment too. Your job is not to conform. Your job is to confront. Your job is to stand, and your job is to represent the person that you are. Provided that you let your light shine, that's all you have to do because that is how change occurs. It's not about you adjusting to what is. It's about you reflecting who you are. And I'll never forget that advice. And from that day on, I realized I don't have to change who I am. I don't have to be something that I'm not. All I have to do is be Tamaya. I know who I am. I know whose I am. I know what I stand for. And because of that, it's a matter of allowing your true self-image to, like I said, speak for you, allowing it to lead the way, and it will open doors. And people adjust. I mean, sometimes we think we have to fit a certain mold, and if we don't, we won't be accepted. No, people will adjust. And if they can't adjust, then maybe that's when you do ask questions of whether or not this is the place that you need to be in, or you're able to thrive. But at the end of the day, it is holding true to your beliefs, your self-image, what you want to reflect, and then allowing everything else just to fall in line. And if that's a place you're supposed to be, then it will, everything will come together. As my dad says, when it fits like a glove, then you're in the right place. So because of that and the advice that I was given early on, I've never had a problem with self-image or feeling as if I have to conform. Yeah, we all have to be flexible. As my younger sister says, what doesn't bend will break, but not at the expense of you selling out or you doing something that contradicts, your beliefs, your moral compass, your ethics, your values. Those are important to you. And at the end of the day, it's important to be in an environment where those things are appreciated and they're valued, but most importantly, they're accepted.
That's I love everything that you just said, because at the crutch of it sounds like what you're saying is you released the fear of being accepted. You just stood firmly with who you are and allowed everyone else to benefit from that. And it sounds like they found it very beneficial.
It has been. And I think that's the other thing, in my career, there's not a lot of African Americans, believe it or not, and there's certainly not a lot of African American women. So I naturally, sometimes question, you don't want to be viewed as this, or is this too much? Is this not enough?
Oh, yeah.
You can do that until you are blue in the face. And at the end of the day, you are not going to ever be able to impress everybody or give everybody what they're looking for. So that's all the more reason why all you can do is stand in your truth and be true to who you are and let everything else fall into line. It's an uphill battle, and it's a fight. It's a war you'll never win. So don't even go there. Just, again, allow yourself to shine your light, and it will open the door. It will open the door.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think, and there was an earlier podcast that I did about natural hair, and this kind of reminds me of that in that same vein, because I was talking about how I used to go into these boardrooms and, I had to make sure my hair was stick straight, and I had to make sure if I didn't have time to make it stick straight, I had to make sure that it was tame. Like, I had to, beat these curls down and make sure they fit, because I felt the pressure of wanting to, I was, ascending in my career and wanting to appear to be a team player, externally, where, in reality, it was doing something else to me as well. And so eventually, I did evolve to the point where I was like, what, why am I apologizing for who I am? This is me, because it's the psychology that for me, and I'm not saying, this is by no means my saying wearing your hair stick straight or, wearing your hair, in very neat, slick styles is oppressive to everyone. I'm just saying that for me, the reasons why I was doing it was affecting my psychology, because when you do it in one place, when you're apologizing for who you are in one instance, you end up apologizing for who you are in other instances, and that's just unacceptable.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
and those are a lot of the pressures and challenges that, we naturally face. And of course, everyone's environment is different. I work in entertainment, so it's a little bit more acceptable to, go against the grain and be a little bit, more, what's the word I'm looking for? Living out loud, if you will. But to your point, I think that organizations and companies thrive where there is diversity in thought, in appearance, in people, in backgrounds, in cultures.
Right.
And if we're always trying to conform to what is the mainstream, how are you able to influence, the room based upon what you bring to the table? That's your secret sauce. Who you are as a person, is that secret ingredient in the master mix. So if you're trying to, make your paprika, taste and look, like someone else's cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's too much of one flavor. Because for all you know, when you put both ingredients in that mix, just the bold flavor that can come from it. That's a weird example, but that just came to the top of my head, so I decided to share that.
Yeah,
but it goes back to, a appearance that I made recently on a show for Fox Soul that was all about, how important it is to have, other voices at the table in the room when certain decisions are being made. And, that's why we can't silence who we are, our presence, our light, whatever it is, just because you never know what impact, your authentic, credible self, is making to whatever decisions are being made, or whatever, project is being greenlit, whatever the case is. So that's why, we kind of have to stand in our truth. And, sometimes we'll always have that question, or is it too much? Is it not enough? We'll always have that.
Yeah.
But it's a pressure, it's a challenge that is very realistic and natural. So, we all have to kind of figure it out ourselves and plot our course, effectively. So.
I agree.
That's what I'll say there. I can go on and on.
I totally agree. So you kind of touched on this, but I would like to maybe have a summary list of 5 traits that you've used or you have adhered to help facilitate your professional growth. There's a lot of my listeners out there who are on that ascension in their careers, and they really are really trying to grasp onto what they can do to, make that or facilitate that ascension for themselves. So what would you say are the top 5 traits that have helped you?
Yeah, the top 5 traits that have helped me, number 1, I'm going to say commitment. It is so important to commit, to follow through, to see something through to the end. Commitment is one. Dedication is another. You can commit to something, and just get it done, but it's a different story when you fully dedicate it. You fully dedicate to it. And for me, that is putting in the fullness of Tamaya. Whatever I have to throw against this project or this program, that is exactly what I'm going to do. Number 3 is passion. If you don't care, if you aren't connected, it's not going to be effective. You genuinely have to be passionate about what you're doing. Because in my line of work, I represent this idea. This idea started in my head, and if I'm not passionate about it and I'm not able to present it in a way that it, requires or deserves, I'm not going to get people to buy in and say, "Oh my gosh, that's a good idea. Let's move forward with it." Number 3 would be passion. Number 4 would be patience. Depending on the type of woman you are, and I can only imagine the type of women your viewers are, we are designed, we're programmed to get in there, make it happen, make it work by any means necessary, and that's not always the case. So sometimes we have to be patient with ourselves and allow things to evolve in their own time, in their own way, and at their own speed. So that's another big piece would be patience. And then number 5, I would have to say, enjoy it. To find enjoyment in what you do. Sometimes that's easier said than done, but it's really about getting down to the bottom of, what makes you tick? What brings you fulfillment? What brings you excitement? When we think about our lives, we spend so much time, in our careers. So why would you want to do something for such a long amount, of your time that you really aren't getting enjoyment from? So enjoy what you do. I like to say, and again, it's easier said than done for sometimes, so I don't want to come off as if it's like, oh yeah, that's the solution. No, these are things that have to be figured out and fine-tuned, but We want to work to live, we want to work to live, not live to work. And then also an enjoyment. That's a big piece of that is balance. I used to be one of those people who was so driven, and my work ethic was, so severe that I wasn't creating me time for myself. And the other side of Tamaya, and the other things that I want to do. My whole life is not my job. My whole life is not my career. But what I was giving out, you would think that it was. So I realized part of that enjoyment of life is also creating that work-life balance. So taking time for you, taking time for others, taking time to enjoy family and friends, and relax. So when I say enjoyment, it's multi-pronged. It is just making sure that you aren't just grinding for the sake of grinding, but you are getting some benefit out of it in whatever that means to you.
Yeah, I love that. To work to live and not live to work. That's I think that's so important, and also the enjoyment, that you mentioned. So working to live and not living to work. I think that's something that, especially if you are, if you do have a strong work ethic, it's a very difficult lesson to learn. And the sooner you can learn it, the better, because you can become, very, very overwhelmed with too much of a good thing,
Right.
So,
and you sometimes aren't even aware of it. Going back to the point of having great bosses, one great boss told me when, I'm in my 20s and, he's receiving emails from me at, 1 o'clock in the morning just because, I'm just on that wheel like a hamster, just running. Mm-hmm. And he finally pulled me aside. So You Think You Can Dance was one of our shows at the time. And he said, Tamaya, when you are in the hospital with tubes coming out of, various parts of your body because you have suffered a heart attack or a stroke or whatever it is, So You Think You Can Dance will still be on Fox at 8 p.m. And that was his way of saying, you have got to take care of you, because whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, this show is still going to be on air. So why compromise yourself for something that doesn't care about you the way that you are caring about it? And I was just like, you're so right. And it was a season when I was missing birthday parties and missing big events that my friends were having, because I was like, oh no, I'm in the office, I gotta work. But no, you can go. You just have to figure out how you can do both, because there's always a way. We make time for what we want to make time for. So at the end of the day, it's being aware and being alert and being, having that sense of when you are, compromising things that are important, or you're saying no or giving up to things that you just can't get back. I can't get back a friend's 40th birthday party, but I can get back, 4 hours that I might have to put this project on hold in order to go. So it's making those minor shifts and allowing us to enjoy, again, going back to that word enjoy, our lives, and that is the career side the professional side as well as the personal side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And finding ways to do that.
Yeah, and it's and just to tag on to what you're saying, you find time for the things that really do matter in your life, and maybe that's the culture that cultural shift that you make in terms of how you allow yourself to be valued in the workspace. And it's like, for example, I remember in my own career, I would have this project and I would do the hell out of that project. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I would turn it over very quickly. And, that's my work ethic, right? I want to do, an amazing job. But maybe for that particular project, I really had an unrealistic approach. Like, I was just powering through nonstop and I, like full steam ahead. And what happened after that? Can you guess?
No, what?
They gave me another project and now the expectations were that I do that project the same way. So it created a culture of how I should be valued.
I've got to work for that. You become a victim of your own success.
There you go. So I had to like learn to teach others how to treat me and value me and my time. So that's really important, especially how you articulated that.
Yeah.
So
that's such a great example.
One of the things that I think that, and we've kind of touched upon it throughout this interview, but is just blocking out the external noise and finding your own voice. Can you provide your perspective on how does one find their own voice and basically mute the external noise?
Right. I think a big piece of that in finding your own voice is, first of all, trusting it. No one can express your thoughts. No one can communicate for you the way that you can communicate for yourself. So you are the expert. You are the CEO. You are the boss of your thoughts, your voice. So
I love that.
You have to trust that whatever you're sharing, whatever you're contributing, number one, is valuable because it's coming from you. So just right off the right off the gate, right out the gate, it's important. It's valuable. So trusting your voice, your thoughts, your opinion, and presenting it, with that confidence and that assurance. There will always be external voices. It is just the way that the world works. So you do have to tune it out and be able to, again, represent yourself in the most authentic, the real, this is what it is type of way. And yes, there's sophistication and there's fine tuning in that. But it really comes down to your thoughts, your perspective, and trusting and believing that what you have to contribute to the conversation or whatever is happening has a purpose, and it serves a value. And that gives you the freedom to be able to tune out the rest and just really focus in on what it is that you're bringing to the table. So it comes down to trust, I would say. Trusting
yourself, trusting that little voice in your own head and trusting your gut.
Exactly.
Yeah. I always say, at least for me, I have physical cues for when I'm going with my gut and against my gut. It can be just like, it's almost like a physical sickness that I get, and then every single time moving against that, like still moving forward with whatever that plan is, whatever that thing is. And I have that feeling, that gut feeling, it never works out well. Like there's always something on the other side that's like, and then I'm like, I should have listened to myself. I should have gone with my own intuition, because you already kind of know, you know within yourself what's right for you. I believe.
And no one will know it like you do. Those are those internal checks. For me, I say follow the breadcrumbs of the spirit. These little bitty, guides, these little signs, these little feelings that you're feeling along the way to confirm or correct if you're on, the proper path or not. So, provided that you are able to just really hone in and center and listen to what you're receiving internally and externally, because the two go together, then you got to follow that guide.
Follow the breadcrumbs of the spirit. I love that. I've heard you say that before. I love that. Follow the breadcrumbs of the spirit. Yes. I love that. You have so many wonderful quotes. I'm just writing them all down.
The majority of them I get them from my father. He's like my Yoda. He's so wise.
Wow, these are amazing. You are the CEO of your own voice. I love it. Okay. So I'll definitely be sharing those. Okay, so then you being a goal-oriented person, obviously you are goal-oriented, and you have, I'm assuming, set various goals for your own life throughout your time here, right? So how do you approach setting goals in your own life? Do you sit down on January 1 and say, okay, for 2020, I'm going to do these things 1 through 10? Or, what is your approach? How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's a great one. It took me a long time to start doing that. I think before I just was, roll with the punches and just, let life take its course until you realize, no, there's some other goals that you have in life that you aren't achieving quite yet. And that's because you haven't really, taken time to do a proper evaluation. So to answer your question, it is setting time to do an evaluation. I'm not that January 1, December 31st, set New Year's resolutions, because we know the majority of people don't necessarily keep those. And if they do, well done. Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm not one of those people. I'm a little bit more of a free spirit, because the other thing that I try to do is, trust in God and put my faith in what He has for me in the proper season and the proper phase. So my way of setting goals is to pray about them, seek Him, give them to Him, let Him know, these are the things, Father, that I want to see happen in my life. These are the things that, I want to see take shape, as I like to describe them. These are the desires of my heart. And those typically include the goals and things that I want to have happen, things that I want to see realized, things that, I want to develop in, so forth and so on. So these are the things that I commit to prayer, and through the year, I just continue to pray about them, and seek Him for answers, seek Him for direction, seek Him for guidance, because at the end of the day, my prayer is, these are the desires of my heart, but if these aren't, part of your plan and your will and your purpose for my life, then shift these desires to align with your desires for me. And to this date, never failed me. It has been my MO from my 20s, and I really believe, a lot of what I've experienced in my life and, getting to the place that I am now where I feel, very fulfilled, if you will. There are things that I still absolutely, want to have happen, that are still TBD. But like I said, in His hands, I'm allowing Him to guide me, to the point of achieving those things no differently than He's guided me and allowed me to achieve, what I have had to date. So that's how I approach goals. I approach my goals through prayer.
Yeah, awesome. And that's a very courageous thing to do, because we want to control everything. We want to control everything. And I'm not ashamed to admit there are times when, I also pray. And there are times when I've been in working through difficult life situations, and I want them to have a specific outcome. Like, I needed to go. Yeah. I only wanted to fit in this box, right? So I have withheld prayers, and I'm just being totally transparent. I've withheld because I was fearful that and eventually I have to surrender and pray. But at the onset, it's like, okay, I'm not quite ready to give it to you yet. Because you might be up to some other stuff. I need it. I'm going to need you to go this way. And so if I give it to you, I don't know what you're going to do. So that's a very courageous thing to do. Like, honestly, it's very courageous.
Well, as much as I want to take credit and be like, oh, thanks. No, I had to learn the hard way, Sarah. It's courageous now because, I had to learn the hard way. And as my dad says, don't box God in. Like, don't box Him in. Our job is to, He's promised to take us there. It's not about, as my dad says, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. You are on a journey. That's what life is. And our job is to, sit in the back seat. Don't tell him to turn right. Don't tell him to turn left. Don't tell him that there's a shortcut around this bend. Let Him drive, and He will take you to where it is that he has for you to go. So when I was able to acquiesce and give up the reins, because yes, I do that by nature. I do that in my day to day, just having that control. I finally realized this isn't getting me to where I want to be. What do I need to do differently? And that was being able to put it in his hands. Easier said than done, because yes, you want to, give him tips and say, okay, God, are you sure? But
give him tips.
At the end of the day, that's what faith is about. That's what faith is about.
So funny.
My dad used to say, God's never going to tell you everything nook and cranny, because if he did, it doesn't require you to have faith.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, we know that it's impossible to please him without it. So he wants to have us to have faith, and if we're able to do that, he'll deliver in our lives. So. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's just so funny to me. Don't give God tips. Like that. It sounds so ridiculous, but it's so true. It's like what we do, right? Let me let you in on some things, God.
Right. As if he didn't know what you were going to ask before you even asked him.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Tamaya, one thing that I would like to ask you is, how do you describe the importance of friendship in your life? And you've already touched upon, faith and its role in your life, and how you surrender to God and you pray, and He guides your path. But in terms of your friendship, how would you describe the importance of friends?
Blessed. Very, very blessed. As I mentioned earlier, two phenomenal women in my life are two of my sisters, who I'm thankful that they're not just my sisters, they're also my friends, but I also have friends who also have become my sisters. And, it is an amazing blessing to have women in your life who inspire you for so many different ways. And I am so thankful that I have a core group of 5 women who do exactly that. For my 30th birthday, I decided to really just let them know how much I admire them, how much they inspire me for various reasons. And these women, they are heavy hitters in their own right. They are professionals. They are mothers. They are daughters. They are friends. They are wives. They are all these amazing things. And I'm just truly blessed to have these 5 friends who, like I said, are sisters, who will tell me like it is. They will tell me when I'm wrong. They will praise me when I'm right. They are there when I need a shoulder to cry on, someone to laugh with. But I think the great thing is, we cheer for each other. Yeah. We celebrate each other. We applaud each other. And, these women are amazing. Their names happen to be Shanae, Monet, Kiana, Ebony, and this wonderful woman I'm talking to right now, Saran. And I'm grateful that these women, like I said, we have amazing moments, amazing times. But I really don't classify them as friendships. I classify them as my sisters, because over the years they've grown to be family. And they are a critical piece in going back to that enjoyment of life, because you don't want to just have the work, but you don't have those moments that at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Again, based upon the person that I am. So friendships are important, but sisterships is what I define it and classify them as.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful and honored to be in that group of 5 that you called out. And what I love about our group is that you have women that are very different from one another, but still held by a common thread. So it gives you such a different perspective. In that group you have, survivors of, a breast cancer survivor. You have, an OBGYN. You have, all of these different, just because I'm not calling out every other person, but I'm just saying, like,
just 2 great examples.
Yeah, it's just, amazing women that are really just bring a lot.
Right. I liken it to a quilt. A quilt is beautiful because the patches are so unique. No two patches are alike. They are authentic. They are unique. They are special in their own way, and that's what makes a quilt so beautiful. That's what they are, but the common denominator is, love and friendship, support, and just, when love is the word that just stands out so much. Going back to my sister's stroke, those were the first phone calls I made because I knew, when I say you have me at hello and I have them at hello, I absolutely do. The moment I said hello, you guys were able to hear it in my voice. And the first thing, if I think about Kiana, she's like, "What's wrong?" What's wrong? She just knew. Shanae couldn't even get the words out, but it just really speaks to our bond. It's all predicated and based in our amazing sorority, Cat House Sorority Incorporated, but it's gone beyond that. And these are women, when we're 80, we'll be doing girls trips, losing our husbands and the kids at home, but, we'll be going off, and doing something amazing just because that's just how we do things.
And a photo shoot, right?
And a photo shoot, yes. Every 10 years.
Okay, so my final question for you is, we are living in an unprecedented time. We have an unprecedented event, a global pandemic, COVID-19. So what do you think, now that we're all staying at home, we're all having to sit in place, what is COVID-19 teaching us?
Oh, I love this question. It's teaching us two things. Number one, in the beginning of this, just with how it was so inconvenient and how it made things awkward and you're forced to stay at home and things are closed and you can't visit people. When I think about how much I was complaining and just mad about that, my perspective has completely shifted. I think it's teaching us to value the things that we didn't think much about before. I would do anything right now to be able to hug my father, to be able to hug my mother. Instead, I take them food, I take them groceries, I leave them outside their house and get in my car. Just that human touch, that connection, being able to just stop and appreciate the things that I didn't appreciate before. That is what this is teaching me. Going back to me being just annoyed and irritated about how inconvenient this whole thing is. When I think about the people who have lost loved ones, I still have breath in my body. I still have the ability to wake up. I still have a job. People who've lost their jobs. I still have things that other people right now, unfortunately, have lost. So when I talk about this, or when I say the spirit of gratitude and being able to be grateful, not just for what I have and where I am right now, but for so many things that I just didn't really appreciate the benefit of before. So I think right now COVID-19 is making us reset. It's making us reevaluate, and it's making us, reconsider, if that's a word, just life, what is most important at the end of the day, and to be grateful for what we have and who we have in our lives. So that's one. Number two, I hope it is teaching us. We have got to vote. We really have got to vote. The disease is one piece of this, but how this is being managed is another piece. And when I think about what this disease does to African Americans, who have underlying conditions, who don't necessarily have certain resources, just the economical, components of this, we have got to vote. And if we never understood that before, I hope this teaches us now.
I couldn't agree with you more. We can't just allow life to happen to us. We have to use our voice and we have to use our voting power. With that, thank you, Tamaya, for taking the time to be a guest on Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Power 365 Phenomenal Woman Wednesdays. I believe that every woman gifts the universe with her own strengths and unique characteristics. Simply because she is born, the universe benefits. Every woman is growing, learning, and evolving. On this channel, only positive seeds are sown, no matter how flawed the soil. Take care and have a phenomenal Wednesday.